Right. So, Facebook friends, I have the honor today of visiting with Keith Claytor. He is a friend and a photographer in Connecticut. I'm going to let Keith introduce himself, talk about himself. Um, Keith, it's good to see you.
Hey, it's great to see you too. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's since we had that class in New Jersey, huh?
Th-
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I was thinking Charleston first, but yeah, you're right. I think I skipped backwards
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
couple of
I
years.
remember that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. New
that was
Jersey
a
was
while, that was a while ago too, actually. Yeah. So
it was. So no, hey, first off, just thank you for this platform. I watched one that you did last week and with Kafa, and I think that was just fantastic. It's good to just have a place to kind of talk about, especially in these times. Just some of the things that we're learning and sharing and kind of going through, and it's so important for us to stay connected right now. I think probably more important than ever for us to just stay connected. So I guess I'll do a little bit about me and just in terms of where I've been and where I've come from. I've been a wedding photographer and a full-time photographer. Well, a photographer since 2005 is when I actually picked up a camera and shot my first wedding. And as probably so many other people have done, we probably all share the same story where we didn't necessarily want to be a wedding photographer, but a friend called you up and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm getting married, and you do some pretty good things with your camera. Go ahead and take my pictures." And I guess probably the only thing that's different, maybe different in my case, is I was just starting to dabble in photography, as well as the person who I was shooting their wedding was actually just starting to dabble. So we actually traded weddings, and so I shot my wife and I shot their wedding, and they shot our wedding. So it was kind of a way to jump in with both feet for two people, for two sets of people and two businesses, which was pretty cool. Um, 2008 is when I actually decided to take my business Time Frozen Photography full time, and have been blessed to be going pretty strong ever since. And it's been a pretty wild ride, just learning things constantly and just adjusting with trends in the industry and just life changes and things like that. One of the things that I've actually done recently is join a company that is a CRM software company called PickSpotter. And so what we're actually doing is developing a really simple and easy to use platform for us to maintain our relationships with our clients, everything from scheduling to invoicing, workflows, all of those things, and doing it in our goal is to really just allow people to do the business side of what we do, which sometimes in a lot of cases is the stuff that we hate to do. So we're trying to make it as simple as possible and make it as stress-free as possible. So shout out to Milton and True and Chanel. So it's a team of a small
and become a family.
Okay. So, are you saying you are part of the company or?
I am. I am part of the company.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's open for business and taking on new clients.
Yes. Actually, the business has been in development for a number of years, and but we are open for business, taking on new clients. You can certainly go to pickspotter.com or join our Facebook group. Just search for PitSpotter user group, and you can find out all kinds of information about some of the exciting things we're doing.
Okay. Okay. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So you do that and you're a wedding photographer at the same time. And that's
Correct. Yeah. Weddings. We're never getting away from weddings. It's too much. It's too much fun. I mean, it's one of those things where we've all gone through it and we experience the joys and the stress of it. And there's some days where you want to pull your hair out or what hair you may have. And but at the end of the day, this is something that I think the responsibility and also the joy of what we do is something that's really, really special. And you know, not a lot of people have a career where you get an opportunity to see mostly the bright side. And so, you know, I think, you know, we have to take that responsibility and that joy of being wedding photographers and run with it and appreciate it for what it is, because we actually get to see, you know, pretty much every weekend a pretty cool thing happening. Maybe not every weekend right now, but
We'll come
soon,
back.
soon.
Yeah. So if a new client will ask you, Keith, what's your style of wedding photography? Or how do you explain that to me? What's your style, Keith?
Oh, geez. I want to tell all sides of the story. You know, and I believe in documentary photography, but you know, I also believe in making it beautiful. I think that you know, we want to show the joy and the pain, and you know, regardless of whether it's a happy tear or a sad tear, because there's all kinds of emotions in the day. You know, we want to show the emotions of the day with our work, with my work. But I think that there's still a way to find beauty in even the highs and the lows of the day, and that's what I strive to do is to somehow find a perspective that shows the beauty and in every single part of that day.
Okay, thank you. All right, so okay, so are you ready to talk about your five life lessons to share with us?
Sure, let's do it. It's funny. When you first contacted me, I just drew a blank for about 4 days and just could not come up with anything in terms of 5 lessons that I've learned in life, which is pretty sad. But then all of a sudden something clicks and the floodgates just open up and everything that you've learned kind of comes to you 5 minutes before we start talking. So let's go.
Okay, right. So I am asking many photographers to share some important learnings so we can learn. I'm really curious. I'm very interested to see what's behind people. You know, what's behind you, or what is important to you. So I thank you for sharing. I want to hear. So, number one.
You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to be heard above the noise. That's something that I learned from my father, and you know, he's retired now, thankfully, and he's enjoying his life down in South Carolina or North Carolina, and he gets to golf. Usually, his job on the golf course requires him to work about 4 days a week. It's not working; it's just playing 18 holes. But you know, one of the things that he taught me throughout his career in insurance, which he kind of went up from being entry level up to working for the state, defending people and helping people out in consumer affairs. He's a soft-spoken and pretty quiet person. He's not someone that has ever wanted attention. So I always I asked him, you know, what's that about? And he told me back when I was kind of entering the corporate world, when I was in my previous career, that, you know, when he was having conversations with people, you know, he would almost whisper, you know, and when he was in a conference room or having a meeting, he would talk in a very low voice. And he told me that intentionally it was so that people would lean in and people would actually, you know, show interest in what he had to say. And, you know, a lot of times we think that we need to walk into a room and take over the room. And that's just so opposite of the truth. That, you know, if we want to do something, first off, if we want to accomplish something, we need to listen. And if we're going to listen, you know, you can't be walking in thumping your chest, because if you want to get honesty from people, you have to approach them at their level. So that's one lesson that my father taught me. That I've taken, you know, take every day with me.
So do you find that when you are in a setting, do you pay attention to ones who are not quiet, or do you tune out the loudest people? The reverse.
I think it's my natural inclination is to probably seek out people that are more like myself. So I'm probably, you know, going off into the smaller group that's in a corner, and maybe having a one-on-one conversation or small group conversations, as opposed to necessarily trying to be the life of the party, which that can change depending on the number of martinis, but for the most part for the most part it's usually trying to really kind of gravitate to the people that fit me and fit my style, and that's kind of where it goes from there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, number two.
You just got to be you. So I guess that kind of rolls in from the last statement that I just made, but that's one that my son has taught me. We one of the cartoons and books that we love to read and explore is Pete the Cat. It's a really cool cartoon. If you're on Amazon, you can it's on Amazon Prime. You can check it out. It's one of those kid shows that has some music, but it's not Baby Shark music, so it's not going to drive you nuts when it plays over and over in your head. I think one of the characters is Diana Krall, and Elvis Costello's in there. So there's some good tunes in there, but there's also a lot of really cool, nice life lessons that are in it. And you just got to be you. I don't think that really even needs to be broken down. But quite simply, I spent a lot of years of my life trying to fit into holes that I didn't necessarily fit into. And I think, at some point we're probably all guilty of that. And we want to be something, or we want to be seen a certain way, or viewed a certain way. But the reality is, if you're looking for true connections with people, you don't have to go after it. You don't have to chase it. You just have to find your lane, and guarantee the right people, the right experiences, the right opportunities. If you're yourself, they gravitate towards you. I am not a master of SEO. I am not a master of marketing. I pretty much, if you happen to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I don't necessarily follow the rules of how a page should be curated or anything like that. I have good days and bad days, and I try to be as authentic as I can with all of them, and hopefully bring a smile to some people's faces with some joy or a laugh or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think if you just stay true to yourself, man, the doors just kind of start to open up, and you don't have to bang every single door down, or at least it makes it a heck of a lot easier to find the doors that are waiting for you.
Do you think that to do this, it requires a lot of inner strength and maybe support in your community, or your family, just to believe in yourself? Because it's hard to be strong and be me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, that kind of plays right into, finding your own lane and finding that, because, for me, I get support from people and places that I wouldn't even imagine. And that's one of the things that I'm just absolutely so grateful for. And we spoke about my son. I'll just share with everyone that my son has and is going through some real challenges, some real health challenges, some that actually took us and made us. We moved to Pittsburgh last year for about 8 months out of the year as he was undergoing some stem cell transplants and additional therapies and things like that. And to find communities, that people that didn't know me, just reaching out and coming out of the woodwork to help our family and to just help us along our journey. I can honestly say that we might not be a business, or certainly business would be completely different if it weren't for that level of support that we received. And so the community is everything. But I think hopefully it stems from us being our authentic selves and sharing our life and our journey and the things that we're going through positive and negative, and I think that's where that support comes from.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3.
This just really comes down to the responsibility that we all have to bring someone else up along with us. Especially in our business. A lot of times, and I think we all kind of go through different stages in our career, especially as photographers, since it's a huge community, but it's a solitary. It's a very lonesome job sometimes, and I think, at least I'll speak for myself. At the beginning, when I was, I'll call myself self-taught, which I think that's a pretty. I think that's not a cool word to use, because quite honestly, none of us are self-taught. I don't, it could be YouTube, it could be a person that showed you something, but we all have to attribute our success to someone or something that sparked something along the way. But at the beginning of my career, I kind of took my knowledge and didn't share it. It was what I learned, it was what I gathered, and it was we kind of have that competitive spirit about us, and I think it's good to be competitive, but at the same time, at least I got to a point in my career where I started realizing that the more you share, man, the more it comes back to you. What you get can come back tenfold, and I've got people that have certainly helped me along the way over the years, and I've realized that with that help and with that support from people, it's on me to make sure that somebody else that is just getting started, that they have all the arrows in their quiver and have all the tools that they can get to succeed. So it's really important for all of us to make sure that as an industry that we're strong, as a community we're strong, and the only way we can do that is by helping each other and supporting each other. So mentorship is just a really, really cool thing that we should all embrace. If you're the mentee, when you're holding on to that information that someone is sharing with you, at some point in your career, turn it around, give it to somebody else.
Okay, thank you, Keith.
Absolutely.
Number 4.
This is coffee. It's not happy hour yet. Just so
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Just kind of going into actual photography advice, I guess. This is just something that I've noticed, especially depending if you're shooting an event where there's a lot of photographers. I've been lucky enough to shoot some Fashion Week events in New York, and a lot of events where there's just a ton of photographers crowding to get the same shot. Maybe it's a red carpet event, something like that. My approach has always been find something different, and usually different is what your client is looking for, especially if they have 30 selections of the exact same image over and over again. There's another story that's happening somewhere in that room, and I think that just something that I like to do is always I try to keep my head on a swivel, and I remember a few years ago I shot a wedding, and it wasn't a huge wedding. I think there were maybe 100 and maybe just over 100 guests, and for whatever reason the videographer brought 3 shooting assistants with him. So there was a total of 4 videographers, myself and my wife, shooting, and I remember at the time of the speeches there were literally 4 videographers standing around the couple, all pointing their cameras at them at the same angle, with the same lens, same distance. And I was just thinking, man, what a missed opportunity, because somewhere somebody's laughing or somebody's crying, or there's something that's happening there that, with 4 shooters, something's missing. So I remember, a conversation that I had with Jacqueline Greenberg, who I'm sure everyone knows, or a lot of people know. When she's shooting with Chris, with her partner, they always make sure that they're shooting with, if one person is shooting, even if they're shooting in the same direction, shoot from a different angle, shoot with a different lens. Don't share the same lens selection. You know, if one is going to shoot tight, somebody tell the wide story. But when you have a team, or even if you're shooting solo and shooting where there's a lot of competition or a lot of other photographers that are out there, you know, try looking around and finding something different to capture.
Yes, this looks like something that's applicable in life also.
Very true. Yeah, find a different way. There's a whole bunch of different ways to get to your destination.
Great. Thank you. And I guess you love cake, Keith.
This is not a secret.
Okay.
Cake is my friend. I usually put a post up on Facebook at the end of every wedding because I do have a clause for cake in my contract, because at the end of a 10 or 11 or 14-hour day, I need some sugar to get me through the last hour. And I just like cake. So I might be eating cake in a few minutes, and that has nothing to do with getting through the end of a wedding. But you know what? There actually is a cake clause in my contract, and I do it for two reasons. Number one, as we mentioned, yeah, I like cake. But the other reason is to actually have something. I want to make sure that my customers, that my clients are paying attention to their contracts. And I guarantee you that if you put something funny or something light in your contract, it's going to be a conversation piece. And it's number one, it's making sure that they're paying attention, but also it's making sure that when a client is, excuse me for a second. When a client is signing a contract for a big dollar item, especially when they're signing on for a service like what we provide, which is to be with them on a pretty important day of their life, they want to know that they have someone that they can laugh with, that can see the humor in things, that can, you know, that knows the importance of it, but also knows how to keep things light when it's necessary. And I think that it's one of those things. It's a cake contract, but at the end of the day, a lot of times towards the end of the night, the client will always walk up and say, you know, did you get the cake or something like that? But it's one of those things that it just builds a level of comfort between yourself and the client. It's just part of that relationship building. So, you know, do something that just puts a little bit of humor in, or just keeps things a little bit light, that even in the middle of signing a contract for thousands of dollars, that you know, for something so important, that they realize that you take you don't necessarily have to take yourself so seriously.
And I imagine this could be something that they think about. They think about when they think about you. So it's sort of a marketing thing that sticks in their head. That's that cake photographer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's that cake photographer. So they don't remember your name, but remember it's you, you know. I'm sure that's very helpful.
Yeah, I have had clients that have reached out to me, and during our initial consultation, they actually tell me what their cake is going to be, and tell me what their flavor is, and things like that. I had a client one time that they decided not to have, they didn't have wedding cake, they had pies, but they had a cupcake for me separately. So yeah, you know, just find something funny, and it's just something that you can run with and roll with, and you know, it's your calling card.
Yeah, I haven't heard that before, and I mean, it stems from your love of cake, of course. You don't want to make something up just for the sake of it, but it's interesting to have that, to hear that you have this one thing that you not teach your clients, but you tell all your clients about. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, interesting. Right, Keith. That is the end of our learning from you.
I survived. Hopefully there's a tidbit for someone.
Yes, oh, of course. Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to ask you too, but we'll save it for another time. And is there anything else that you want to talk about, that you want to share, anything like that?
You know, it's man, that's such an open-ended question these days. You know, there's just so much that we're all dealing with. You know, and we're just in some tough times, man. We're in some tough and difficult times, and there's it's times where right now I think a lot of people want peace, and you know, I think peace is relative to a lot of people, and you know, what's peace for one person isn't peace for another, and I think until we start actually having some difficult conversations and dealing with the challenges that we're dealing with in this world, and injustices to people of color, you know, it's going to be a tough ride. We've got some tough times, so you know, we need to lean on each other. I think one of the words that I've been using a lot more lately is compassion. We have to have it. We absolutely just have to have a little bit more patience, a little bit more compassion with one another these days. It's like I said, it's a long journey. So we could go on and probably go for another half an hour or 40 minutes just talking about it. But you know what? If there was anything to take away from it, you know, stay strong, fight for what you believe in, but still find a way to show compassion to our other people, because you know, at the end of the day, we are in it together, like it or not. So hopefully we can find a way to not just coexist, but grow a lot stronger together.
That's true. We are in it. We are in it together. What happens to this country happens to all of us, regardless regardless of race or whatever groups we're in. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we'll get there.
yes. Let's stay strong, and we'll get there.
Hopefully our photographers that are listening are starting to carefully and socially distance, you know, if you know, be safe, but hopefully we're starting to slowly get back into business. I know, you know, for me personally, I'm excited. I actually have a weekend with a couple of jobs ahead of me, and I'm really excited and psyched to break out the camera and blow some rust off and start getting to work again and start creating again.
And maybe get some cake.
And get some cake. That's always, trust me, it's in the refrigerator. It's
All right.
waiting for me.
Yeah. Well,
We thank you again.
Thank you. Have a
Appreciate
good weekend, and thank you. Thanks, Keith. It's good to visit with you again.
Hey, likewise. Hopefully
Okay.
we'll see each other soon.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna say bye to Facebook friends. We're gonna log off right now. I'm gonna stop the live, and I'm gonna stop the recording for now.